Hello everyone. Today we're going to make perfectly toasted panko breadcrumbs. How sweet it is. What you need for this is a pan. You need breadcrumbs, which we buy at the local grocery store. Panko, I think, have a beautiful crunch to them. So you put them in the pan, and then we're going to add olive oil. And we're going to be generous with the olive oil. As you'll see when I pour it in, the olive oil is not going to completely touch and saturate every single breadcrumb, but once we turn the heat on and begin moving the breadcrumbs around, you will see that the oil will saturate everything. So what you're seeing is a generous amount of olive oil, but don't worry about it. In a minute, it's gonna be a homogeneous mass. Now, I use 100% California olive oil. I think you should use California olive oil if you live in America, and the reason for that is because California olive oil is fresh. It's all 100% olives that were pressed in California. It has a born on date, and it's going to be your best choice. It's fruity, it's delicious, and you're supporting our agriculture in this country if you do that as well. In Italy, when you buy olive oil, they can get olives from all these different countries like Tunisia, from Greece, from Spain, and if they're pressed in Italy, they can say product of Italy on the bottle. Now that's dubious at best. All right. The other thing is that olive oil can sit in storage containers or in warehouses for a long time and eventually become rancid. So you're paying a premium price for an imported product that may not even be 100% olive oil. I'm not saying all producers do that, but believe it or not, the Leaning Tower of Pisa is a metaphor for Italy. Everything's pretty much crooked in that country. So without doing that, please buy 100% California olive oil and support our industry and get an excellent product at a very, very, very good price. So you'll notice that I'm using a wooden spoon. I'm going to change to a rubber spatula in just a second so that I can clean the edges a little bit better. But the heat is on high. Here you'll see that the rubber spatula is going to come. I have the heat on high, and you have to constantly move the breadcrumbs. If you don't do this, the bottom will get toasted before the top, and you'll have uneven browning. In addition to that, it'll take only about 5 to 6 minutes to toast the breadcrumbs if you stay there and keep an eye on them. All right? You can't really walk away from this. So there's no rocket science here. You can see how the oil has amalgamated itself with the breadcrumbs and that we don't have spots of oil anymore. It just goes in, and as the pan gets heated up, it spreads itself out. Now we're going to fast forward here, and if you keep doing it, you'll slowly see the breadcrumbs turn a nice golden brown. In fact, we're going to go a little bit further than golden. Now you have to remember one thing. If it takes 4 minutes for the white breadcrumbs to get to golden, it's going to take a lot less time once they have a little bit of color on them for them to get dark brown. So the most important time for the breadcrumbs for you to be on top of it is in the last couple of minutes, because it can go from a beautiful golden to burned very, very quickly. So it takes a lot less time because they're darker. They attract more heat, believe it or not, than when they're light. So it takes a while to get from light to golden, but from golden to burned takes a very short time. That's why you must pay attention. Keep them moving, and you'll get the thing done in a very reasonable amount of time. Instead of 10 or 15 minutes and going slow and this and that, stand there, pay attention to what you're doing, and you'll get it done. Now, you're probably thinking, why didn't he grate his own breadcrumbs? These days, two reasons. Number one, most people don't go out and buy bread in America anymore. The type of bread like a baguette or a peasant loaf or what have you that lends itself to staling and then creating breadcrumbs. And in times past we used to do that, but today, because we're watching our diet and things like that, we don't do it. And secondly, panko breadcrumbs, the way they're made, are so much nicer. They lend an absolutely fantastic crunch to whatever you use them for. And so that's the reason why I kind of like to, uh, go out and buy the actual breadcrumbs as opposed to make them myself. Now, I'm not opposed to making breadcrumbs myself. I'll make a video eventually where I make the breadcrumbs from theoretical scratch, buy some bread, let it get stale, or even just put it in a food processor and create crumbs and then brown them. Those are two ways that you can do it. Now you notice that as I've been talking and you've been watching, that you can see the breadcrumbs slowly start to take some color. Now it's been a while since I've been talking, but believe it or not, from this point forward to where we're done with the breadcrumbs is going to take a lot less time than from the beginning of the video to about this point. In fact, believe it or not, these breadcrumbs are pretty much done. Look how beautifully even the coloring is. If you were there, you'd see that it has a wonderful smell. And I don't like to put salt on the breadcrumbs at all. And the reason for that is just because you don't know what type of a dish you're going to use them with. All right? So that's it. We were done. And now we take the breadcrumbs and you want to put them in a bowl. And you kind of want to keep them moving around a little bit. There will be some carry over cooking, believe it or not. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to just leave them there because they will continue to brown. So if you agitate them a little bit, now I'm not going to do that in this video. I think prior to me doing that, I had turned the heat off as they turned brown and moved them around. But there you go. There's some breadcrumbs for you. Enjoy.